Hi, and welcome back to Soul via Soul, the podcast that's all about personal growth, wellness, self-love, and building meaningful connections as the cornerstone for wellness. I'm Jada, and in today's episode, we are diving into a topic that resonates with many parents as the school year begins. We'll be exploring the feeling of emptiness moms feel. And dads, I can't exclude the dads, but being a mom, that's my perspective and how I approach life. But we're going to talk about what it is when your kids go back to school and how this period of transition can actually become an opportunity for moms to reconnect with themselves, enhance their well-being, and improve your relationships all around. Hey there, wonderful listeners. I'm dropping in with a little gift. That's right. I want to thank you for being an active listener of the Soul via Soul podcast. Your support goes a long way. And if you haven't yet, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you've been enjoying these episodes and finding value in the empowering conversations we share, there is so much more to offer within my monthly membership, the VIA Collective. And because I'm feeling grateful for your support, I'm giving you half off your first month to experience all the greatness this membership has to offer. Head to the link in the show notes and learn more about the exclusive member content and enter code SVS Podcast at checkout to get half off your first month. Now, let's get back to the conversation. So as we chat about this topic, I have to share with you that I was moved by something I saw on TikTok. Now, it's just funny for me to say that because I'm in my 50s, and the last thing, that's not even a sentence I don't think I would have ever thought have come out of my mouth a year ago. But using TikTok as a way to reach more people to help with their feelings of self-love and using that as a pillar for holistic wellness, it's something I will take a look at. And this lady, well, let's be obvious. I mean, it you can get lost in TikTok, right? So you should listen to my other podcasts on social media boundaries, because I have to apply that rule to myself. But anyway, this lady came up and she was in tears, and she was talking about what it was to drop her son off at daycare for the very first time. And immediately I was taken back to when I was a young mom and having to make the choice of whether I return to work and put my kids in daycare, or do I not, or do I find some combination of part-time? But the thought of not being 100% there for my babies caused me to be a complete mess. And had TikTok been around back then, you might have seen me there sobbing and talking about the painful, gut-wrenching feeling it is to leave your babies. Now, my baby, the youngest of my children, happens to be 19 years old. So that is a long memory. But as soon as that lady started talking, I immediately felt myself 2 decades younger and faced with the similar situation of sending my babies off. And again, part of you, if you know me or you've listened to this podcast before, you know that I made the decision to step out of my career at that time, become a full-time mom, and ended up homeschooling my kids for about a decade. That was never on my radar, and that was not something I was even going to do. I was I was a professional woman. I had just graduated with my degree as a PA. I was working in family practice medicine, and I was like doing my thing, right? As any young professional does. And then all of a sudden enter stage right, baby, and I didn't know what to do with myself. So I wanted to talk about this because obviously this is something that so many women struggle with. So many women maybe silently feel this gut wrenching tug of what to do. And you can have mixed emotions. Like I had spent a lot of money getting my professional degree. It was important that I continue my professional life. And yet, suddenly, it was also equally important, or if not more so, to be a mom and stay home with my babies. And that can be conflicting. And that's a personal decision. Obviously, every woman, every family, every parent has to make the decision that's best for that child and for the family. And sometimes it's a financial one, like you are torn because there's all these other barriers and layers to that decision. But one thing that has come up for me recently is really this understanding of how this can be an opportunity to help women understand the importance of self love. And as moms, especially, we give and give. And again, I don't mean to exclude the dads, but I feel like in general, I just have a better understanding of what it is to look through the lens of being a woman and a mother. But a parent in general, we can extend it. But as a mom, I can tell you that I was really awful at knowing how to love myself. I thought being a good mom meant that I was accessible to my children 24/7. I thought that I had to be absolutely 100% there for any time there was a need. And I was. And I did live that my early mom years, kind of doing it in an unhealthy way, in an no boundaries. But that's because I didn't have any personal boundaries. So obviously I didn't have a lot of boundaries as a parent as well. And I was there 24/7. And it was something that I thought made me a good parent was by being accessible all the time. It wasn't until I later entered therapy and I had a therapist tell me, oh, that's really, that's a quick way to feel a lot of negative emotions about being a mom. And it actually is not sustainable. And a healthier approach is one that balances loving others and loving you and loving yourself before you take on I don't want to say the burden, but the care of loving other people. Self love is not just something that is, and certainly is not getting your nails and hair done, which can be a part of just maintenance, but that's not self love. Self love is way deeper than that. Self love is giving yourself permission to invest in loving yourself through all kinds of gestures. That can be gestures with food choice, daily movement, meditation, mindfulness, journaling. It's really just understanding that unless you pour into yourself first, you are not going to be able to pour in to the lives of those around you. And speaking of TikTok, I just did a TikTok recently about understanding that when you love you, it has ripple effects to everyone around you. When you pour into you, you are able to have improved quality of your relationships, every relationship, not just the relationship with your children, which is going to be improved, but the relationship with your partner, potentially with other adults, with your body, with everything that is you gets magnified and better when you learn to love you. And if you just think about in simple terms, like when we love something, we take care of it. And if you don't love something, you don't. So, loving ourselves is paramount and it's foundational to our health and wellness. And learning how to do that and putting tools in your hand is now my passion because, like I said, I did it wrong. I did it not intentionally wrong, but I didn't have any way to separate me from my children. I didn't know where I ended and my children started. And, that can seem altruistic and like a really good parent, but you really want to have the ability to create boundaries and loving gestures that pour into you. Number one, it's good for you. Number two, it's good for your children to see that you prioritize loving you because guess what it does? It gives them permission to do the same. So let's get into how do you do that? So, first of all, it's just the idea that we're going to embrace the journey of giving ourselves permission to love ourselves. And when your children go back to school, when they return to school, it's an opportunity for you to return to you. So, when the kids go to school, this is when you go, okay, it's a time to return to me. Now, for those homeschooling moms out there, and again, I was one of them, you don't get that separation of kids going to school. So you have to be a little more creative in your ways to pour into yourself. And that's where having healthy boundaries is really important. So, this journey of returning to you, coming home to you, is a journey about rediscovering your worth, your essence, and falling in love with you. It has been something that when I did learn how to love myself, when I went through the process of therapy myself, and my therapist's words to me were, Jada, I'm going to show you how to hold your heart with care. And I have never forgotten those words. And it was those words that actually led me to become a therapist myself. Because after spending 4.5 years, maybe even 5, in therapy myself, doing deep healing work that I now teach to other women, it was that rediscovery of my worth and my value that allowed me to start to learn the importance of self love and creating healthy boundaries and giving myself permission to pour into myself. So, again, part of what allows us and gives us permission, and especially as moms, because we tend to look at how is investing in myself going to take away from. That was one of my big struggles. Was I felt like I was taking away from the time and attention that my children needed. But it's not a takeaway, it's actually a pouring in. It's seeing yourself as worthy of the investment that you yourself give others. It's deciding that you're going to step out of this people pleasing mode of doing everything that everyone expects of you and actually helping show others what is a more healthy expression of love. So when you do love yourself, it does pour into your other relationships. When you come from a place of grounded and rootedness in your truth and your knowing and your worth, you're going to show up differently in the world. You're going to feel empowered. You're going to feel coming from a place of strength. When you learn these self-loving tools, it's going to allow you to regulate your nervous system, to focus on feeding your body with nourishing foods, to understand the importance of quality restorative sleep. You don't get that by being the martyr. And there's nothing that is going to help propel your children forward in life than seeing a loving relationship that you have with yourself, a loving relationship that you have with your partner, loving relationships that you have with other family members. When you come from knowing your worth, valuing your time, giving yourself permission to love yourself, you are going to be able to come from a place of strength. And I'm actually going to be creating a workshop on this very specific type of issue that women face. When there is a return to school, there often is this loss of self. There is this yearning for what was, and yet this also mixed emotions of what do I do now? Or how do I spend my day? Or I don't know what to do. Or why does it feel like my heart is being ripped from my chest by the absence of my child? And again, I've got kids now, my baby's in college. I have adult children. When they go off to college or when they start high school, this doesn't have to be daycare. Anytime our children return to school, regardless of the age, that can be met with mixed emotions. But what it is and can be is an opportunity for you to learn how to love you. It's an opportunity for you to take this time to invest in you. When our children go and learn new things, that why don't we give ourselves permission to do the same? So here are some big takeaways I want you to think about if you are a mom, again, or a dad, if you've got kids going to school, whether they're daycare, grade school, high school, or college, or even if they're moving out of your basement and they're a grown child after college and now they're moving out to find their very own place in the world. There is this sense of loss. There is this sense of lack of identification, lack of purpose, almost a redefining ourselves as people, because when we attach so much of our worth, so much of our identity to being a parent, when that gets shifted with kids doing different things at different ages, we sometimes get lost in the mix. Instead of finding yourself being lost in the mix, consider it an invitation to rediscover who you are, to reconnect with yourself, and to find yourself back home with you. So, part of the reason for creating this upcoming workshop is to help people know how to love themselves. I get that a lot. Okay, yes, Jada, self-love sounds awesome. I'm all in. But how? So the creation of this workshop is a hands-on tools that you can put in your tool bag, practical ways that you can learn to love you. Many of the tools that I learned when I was in therapy, many of the tools that I teach now in my private practice and with the clients in my courses and membership is how to love you. Here's the how-to guide on how to love you. And it encompasses so many things. And it is not fluff and stuff. It is real life tools that are going to move the dial for you in your life. So, as we wrap up this episode of the sacred journey back to self, I want to remind all the moms out there and dads that the back to school season is not just about your children's growth, but also an opportunity for your own transformation. By prioritizing self-love and self-care, you can enhance your well-being and improve your relationships too. And this is a truly thriving time in life. It doesn't have to be what's now missing or gone. It can be what is coming to you. Sometimes it's just a matter of shifting the lens and changing the mindset. Just remember, you deserve to embrace and nurture yourself just as much as you do for your loved ones. So thank you for tuning in to this episode of Soul via Soul. If you found this episode valuable, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review and share it with your fellow moms who might benefit from these insights. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and inspiring content. And if you find yourself wanting more support on your wellness journey and are looking for ways to enhance your self-love with practical tools from a medically trained physician assistant and therapist, then check out the resources on the website or in the show notes. Until next time, take care and keep embracing the journey of self-love and wellness.